I will start with health care.
Yeah.
It's probably the most quoted thing or re-quoted thing you have said in your presidency. If you like your health care plan, you can keep it. You said it a lot during the run-up. At this point, though, it's obviously something, a promise that has not been able to be kept. Just today, the Denver Post reported 250,000 people in Colorado are seeing health insurance policies canceled. Some of those people like those policies, and they can't keep it. What happened?
Well, first of all, I meant what I said, and we worked hard to try to make sure that we implemented it properly. But obviously, we didn't do a good enough job, and I regret that. We're talking about 5% of the population who are in what's called the individual market. They're out there buying health insurance on their own. A lot of these plans are subpar plans, and we put in a clause in the law that said if you had one of those plans, even if it was subpar, when the law was passed, you could keep it. But there's enough churn in the market that folks since then have bought subpar plans, and now that may be all they can afford. So even though it only affects a small amount of the population, you know, it means a lot to them, obviously, when they get this letter canceled. And, you know, I am deeply concerned about it, and I've assigned my team to see what can we do to close some of the holes and gaps in the law. Because my intention is to lift up and make sure the insurance that people buy is effective, that it's actually going to deliver what they think they're purchasing. Because what we know is before the law was passed, a lot of these plans, people thought they had insurance coverage, and then they'd find out that they had huge out-of-pocket expenses, or women were being charged more than men. If you had pre-existing conditions, you just couldn't get it at all. And we are proud of the consumer protections we put into place. On the other hand, we also want to make sure that nobody is put in a position where their plan's been canceled. They can't afford a better plan, even though they'd like to have a better plan. And so we're going to have to work hard to make sure that those folks are, taken care of.
Do you feel like you owe these folks an apology for misleading them, even if you didn't intentionally do it? But at this point, they feel misled, and you've seen the anger that's out there.
I regret very much that what we intended to do, which is to make sure that everybody is moving into better plans because they want them, as opposed to because they're forced into it, that we weren't as clear as we needed to be in terms of the changes that were taking place. And I want to do everything we can to make sure that people are finding themselves in a good position, a better position than they were before this law happened. Keep in mind that most of the folks who got these cancellation letters, they'll be able to get better care at the same cost or cheaper in these new marketplaces, because they'll have more choice, they'll have more competition, they're part of a bigger pool. Insurance companies are going to be hungry for their business. So the majority of folks will end up being better off, of course, because the website's not working right. They don't necessarily know it right. But even though it's a small percentage of folks who may be disadvantaged, it means a lot to them, and it's scary to them. And I am sorry that they are finding themselves in this situation based on assurances they got from me. We've got to work hard to make sure that they know we hear them, and that we're going to do everything we can to deal with folks who find themselves in a tough position as a consequence of this.
You've been getting some tough criticism on this quote. Clarence Page, your hometown newspaper, the Chicago Tribune, this is not a columnist that likes to throw bombs inside this White House. He's usually pretty supportive of what you said. He characterized this as a political lie and called it the sort of rosy promise politicians sometimes make with such passion and confidence that they actually may have convinced even themselves that it is true. Is that the position you found? Did politics play a role, and you felt as if, as the Republicans were throwing stuff at the law, you're trying to pass it, you're trying to do this, that you shorthanded this?
No, I think we, in good faith, have been trying to take on a healthcare system that has been broken for a very long time. And what we've been trying to do is to change it in the least disruptive way possible. I mean, keep in mind that there were folks on the left who would have preferred a single-payer plan. That would have been a lot more disruptive. There were folks on the right who said, let's just get rid of, employer deductions for health care and give people a tax credit and they can go buy their own health care in their own market. That would have been more disruptive. We tried to find a proven model. We've seen it work in Massachusetts that would be as undisruptive as possible, and in good faith tried to write the law in such a way that people could keep their care, although we really believe that ultimately they're going to be better off when they're buying health care through the marketplaces. They can access tax credits, and they're benefiting from more choice and competition. But obviously we didn't do a good job in terms of how we crafted the law, and that's something that I regret. That's something that we're going to do everything we can to get fixed. In the meantime...
By the way, that sounds like you're